Hey guys, and welcome to this quick video explaining the very basics of how to use the Walrus Operator. I'm going to explain briefly what it does with some super simple examples, and I'm going to take two fairly, I would argue, fairly kind of trivial use cases here, arguably things which you might be doing quite a lot in Python, or these kind of concepts anyway, and showing how you can convert these into using the Walrus Operator and how it can save you a bit of computational time. We'll then finish off with another example inside a list comprehension. I'm really aiming this at the absolute beginner, so if you've not used the Walrus Operator before, this video is hopefully ideal for you, and in the future I'll probably do a more advanced version as well. So what does it do? Basically it evaluates and assigns at the same time. So it probably doesn't make much sense in of itself. So let's go ahead and do something really, really simple. If I was to go ahead and say print, let me zoom in just a touch here for you, and I'm going to say X Walrus Operator. You probably see why it's called the Walrus Operator if you turned it on its side, I guess. And let's go ahead and do print X Walrus 5 here. So consider the bit I'm highlighting now. What's basically happening now is the thing on the left, X, this is being assigned the value of the thing on the right. So in this case, it's similar to saying X is equal to 5. But the addition of this little dot here, making it the Walrus Operator, means that this entire thing is being returned. Okay, so that's kind of similar to basically saying here's the assigned bit at the same time, so that's X, and also evaluate it, so 5. That's it. So this is giving 5 and also assigning 5 to X at the same time. That means that when I print this, it's basically the same as me just saying print, not T, print 5. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, we get exactly the same thing, but let's go ahead and check out the assignment bit of this, X. Okay, looks good, 5. Let's go ahead and do another one. Let's go ahead and say print. Let's go ahead and do name, Walrus, and we'll go ahead and say James here. So the assignment bit, that's saying the variable name has the value of James. So I would expect that if I was to print off name further on down the line, I'd get James. The evaluate bit, that's just simply returning the bit on the right. That's it. So if we hit run, I'd expect to see James printed. And then if we go ahead, I'll do like this here. There we go. We should see this. There we go. Nice. So James and then James here. So that's basically what it does. It's basically doing two things at once. We're assigning something to a variable, and we're also returning the whole statement as well. I think that's the bit that most people struggle with, and admittedly, it's the bit I guess sometimes still do struggle with. It's a bit of an abstract concept, but use it enough, and I think if you can realize the situation it's used in and is helpful in, then yeah, the better really. I try and use it as much as I can, even if it takes a bit of brain power to suss it out. So let's go ahead and do some simple use cases here. So let's go ahead and look at our first one. We'll just run it as is. Okay, looks good. We have 5. So what I've got here, in fact, I'll print off st as well. There we go, hello and 5. So think of this situation as to what's happening here. Now, I've just used len, which is a fairly trivial function to use, but imagine if this here, this operation of checking this about st, checking the length of st, maybe you're checking the min or checking the max, right? They're effectively relative to how big this is. So if you imagine that like st is of length 5, so imagine we're checking the max of an array that has, 5 things inside it. We're basically doing 5 checks. We're checking each of those 5 items. So if we say, okay, is the length of st greater than 3, print off st, then the length of st again, we're doing that thing again. So we're saying go through it, find out 5, go through it, find out, 5 iterations all the way through. So it's a little bit inefficient. Of course, there are ways of doing this that are a bit different. But the Walrus Operator really makes itself known as being a useful tool for this situations when we want to check something and then go ahead and use that thing straight afterwards. So if I was to go ahead and do this here, what I'd want to do is do some kind of like walrusy operation here. Let's do something like this. So you want something here, you want something here, still the same check, and we then want to go ahead and do, I guess, like, let's call this, we'll do it X, and then just put this, put it down here for the time being. So what you want to do is first figure out some kind of variable. So let's go ahead and do, we'll just do length here. And then down here, we can then go ahead and use that variable. So what we want to do then is the assigning bit is basically sort of done already. We know that the variable we're going to be needing to use later on is this. So we can say if length something print length. What we now need to do is basically the check on the right hand side. So we can go ahead and then do len, and we'll say st greater than 3. So let's now remove this. Go ahead and run it and make sure it looks the same. Okay, we get 5, that looks good. Now look at how many times we've done len. Rather than doing it 2 times here, we've only done it once. So yeah, probably a bit confusing for the first time, but let's break it down. Bear in mind we're evaluating and assigning at the same time. The assigning bit is simply saying assign to length, so this variable length here, whatever this is, len of st. So len of st is going to be 5. So assign to length 5. And then the evaluate bit, don't forget evaluate's just the thing on the right, len of st 5. So this effectively translates to if 5 greater than 3. Bear in mind I've done these little parentheses, and if you actually do it without these, it doesn't work as expected. So make sure that you wrap the entire expression like this here inside a set of parentheses, and you get 5. So, I mean, that's basically the same as this, right? If 5 greater than 3, yeah, go ahead and do something. So that's my first example. Just one more time, the assigning bit, we're saying assign the length of st, 5, to this length variable. I can then go ahead and use that down here. The evaluation bit is simply the thing on the right. That is effectively equal to this whole thing here. So this whole little statement is worth 5. So we're saying if 5 is greater than 3, go ahead and print this. Right, let me get rid of this for a second. We'll move this and we'll bring in a different example. This time we're using the input function to grab some raw input from the user here. So if we go ahead and just hit run, we can see it says enter something. And we're saying while the user hasn't entered quit, we're going to print off what they said and then ask them again. So if I said hello here, you said hello, let's say bye. Yeah, cool. Basically, it's going to repeat until I say like this here. So if I go ahead and do quit, there we go. The loop finally finishes. Now then, this one's going to be a bit more complex, but we can effectively translate this into using the Walrus operator instead. And it actually cuts down on the line number a fair bit as well. So if I go ahead and just clear the screen here, what we're going to be doing, in fact, I'll kind of try and write it, I'll do it above here for now. Let's go ahead and remove this. And we'll build it up very slowly. So we'll do while, and this is going to be my walrusy bit here. And bear in mind with the walrus operator, this whole thing is going to be evaluated. So I can still pinch this bit here. Okay, so whatever this expression is worth, if it's not equal to quit, basically, yeah, go ahead and do the same thing. So what I can now do, let's go ahead and bring the print down underneath here. Then what I can do is go ahead and basically wrangle this into my little walrus expression here. So I'll do text, walrus operator, and I can actually just grab this guy here. There we go. Remove this. Remove this. Looks a bit more complex, I'd argue. But yeah, I think in terms of kind of cutting down on file size and more line size, I should say, it's a bit nicer. So enter something. Let's go ahead and do bye. You said bye. Let's do test, hello, and then finally quit. There we go. It finally quits for us. So let's kind of go through this piece by piece. We'll do one first. So what's being assigned? Well, in this case, text variable is being assigned the value of whatever we input. So basically text is going to be whatever we input here. And effectively, this is the assignment. I'm going to call this my assignment. Whatever we input as text, let's say text like this here. Then the evaluation side of things is, bear in mind, it's this whole statement here. So, and then from this statement, it's whatever the thing on the right is. So that's just whatever we type in. So whatever we type here. So bear in mind that this is inside a while loop here. So while whatever this is not equal to quit, go ahead, do this, basically keep looping around and redefining whatever text is. So if we run it again, if I say hello here, this is basically now saying something like this, while hello, let's do this, and I can go ahead and grab this guy here. So while hello is not the same as quit, yeah, they're not the same. Go ahead and print off this, do it again, that's it. So I go ahead and do hello. Now let's go ahead and say bye. So I said by this time. So you can kind of think of it as like looping around like this, really. That's it. It's a bit more streamlined than the previous version. So that's all that's really happening. And again, I think it's recognizing that sort of meta situation. It's if we're doing some kind of check, so an if statement, could be a while loop, something like that. If we're doing some kind of check on a variable and then using that variable again underneath, that's where the Walrus operator really kind of comes into its element. So in this case, we're saying while something about this variable has a condition, go ahead and use this variable. That's it. Same with our previous example, we were saying while the length of this variable is this, go ahead and say this about this variable. They basically follow that kind of meta pattern. Now what I want to do, if I just go ahead and get rid of this for a second, I want to go ahead and do it in a bit more of a complex way using a list comprehension here. And I'm going to do it building it up pretty slowly. So what I want to do here is make a list of lengths, so just do a list of lens, for those names, longer than, I'll do 3. So in this case, we should only see the names Liam, Charlotte, and Sarah. Let's do a normal list comprehension, and then we'll use the Walrus one. So I'll start off by saying lengths here. So we'll say len of s, so the length of something for each something that happens to be in names here. Basically, it's like a little for loop inside a list, really. So if I go ahead and print off lengths, so len of s for s in names, so we should see 4, 9, 5, 3, and 2. Now run that, make sure that's correct. Yeah, 4, 9, 5, 3, 2, no problem. What we can then do is say, okay, for this bit here, for those names longer than 3, so give me the length of something for each something in names, but only if some condition holds true. And that condition is going to be if the length of s is greater than 3. So basically got our action at the front, which is include the len of s. Do this for each thing in this list, so this one here, but only if this condition holds true. So if we go through this, length longer than 3, yep, yes, yes, no, no. So we should only see these 3 here, but their lengths. And we can actually draw a parallel between the first problem. Recall that in the first one we used len twice. Now, len is a fairly efficient function to use, but if this was something that was like finding the min or finding the max of something, you really don't want to be calling it twice in the same thing. So to show this one off, I'm going to build it up side by side with this one here. So we'll go ahead and take this. Now, the way to do this, I think it's going to be nice to do it kind of simple, slowly. And let's go ahead and call these different things. So we'll have lengths and then lengths v2. And then we'll do lengths v2 down here. Now, I'm going to change this from this side first. So let's go ahead and do some variable, which for now doesn't exist. So if you run this now, you're going to get a problem. Yeah, len name is not defined. But what we're going to do is basically use this as the left-hand side in the Walrus operator. So let's go ahead and remove this for the time being and put in a set of parentheses ready for the Walrus expression to go inside. I'll set this up like that. So if I can do len name from here, put this inside here, and then what I need to do is basically give this something to compare to. So if I go ahead and do len of s inside here, and then do greater than 3. Let's just run it, check it works, and we'll kind of go through it piece by piece. It does, 495, 495. So let's kind of discuss this bit by bit. So let's go ahead and take this whole thing here. Effectively, this has to be true for our thing to then be included inside our list comprehension. So if you imagine what this is basically evaluating, okay, len of s has to be greater than 3, so it's going to be yes, 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 no, no. Let's take the first yes, which in this case is Liam. So in this case, because Liam has returned true for this bit, this len name variable is going to be equal to, not Liam, but the length of Liam's name. So if we do len s here, that's why we get it. We then come on to the name Charlotte here. So same thing, len of s, so in this case, len of s is going to be 9. So yeah, 9 is greater than 3. So this is true for this. And then this is then assigned to this here. So len of name is worth 9. Finally, we come to Sarah. So len of s is going to be 5. 5 is greater than 3, so it's going to be included. And then that 5 is going to be assigned to len name, and that's why we include len name inside this. I think with the comprehensions, it's a bit trickier to read, but I think, again, it's the same sort of principle. We're doing some kind of check, in this case, len of s, but then using the contents of that check further on down the line. And yeah, I get for len, it's not particularly computationally fancy, But things like finding the min, the max, finding out the sum, things which are computationally, not even super inefficient, you just don't want to be doing them twice. Using something like a Walrus operator here means you can put a bit of headwork in initially to figure out how they work and say, okay, go ahead and evaluate this, and also assign the value of this to this. It just means I can go ahead and use it later without having to then go ahead and call the same function. So I think if you're starting off in Python or in intermediate, it's highly worth learning how to use the Walrus operator. Again, one more time, it's for those situations where you're checking something and then using the contents of that check later on down the line. You can make it much more efficient with the use of a Walrus operator. If you've got any fancy use cases or if you want something explained a bit more, feel free to ping us a comment, but I will be doing a more advanced video in a few weeks' time. Cheers for watching, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all in the next video.